On January 19th of 2022, Konami released Master Duel on an unsuspecting public. After years of asking for it, the official online Yu-Gi-Oh! Simulator was finally here. And though it was launched without warning in the middle of the night, word quickly spread among the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. And almost immediately, content creators of all kinds were up, burning the midnight oil to try it out for themselves. I was among those rushing to get my hands on Master Duel that night. I'm Hardleg Joe, if any ya didn't know, and at that point in my life, I'd been making Yu-Gi-Oh! Content for well over 5 years, mostly using unofficial simulators like yugioh Pro. At the time, I was largely known for a little show called What a Deck, where every other week, I learned a new deck and then tested it out against random opponents online. It was a lot of fun for sure, and it was popular enough that I could do YouTube full time. But at the back of my head, it always kind of felt like bootleg Yu-Gi-Oh! So a few weeks after Master Duel launched, I retired that flagship series in favor of a new idea I called Ladder Climb. Each month, I would take a different deck as chosen by my patrons and do my best to push it up the Master Duel ladder. Finally, I could take the skills I had gained from years of What a Deck and use them in an official competitive environment. And though the views were low at first, Ladder Climb has quickly become my most successful series to date, bringing in a fresh audience that finally pushed my channel past 50,000 subscribers. This show has not only redefined my brand and changed my life for the better, but it stands as a unique time capsule for both my channel and Master Duel in general. It shows off, month by month, how the game evolved over time, and how I as a creator evolved alongside it. It is currently August of 2023, and as this hot summer draws to an end, I thought I'd take some time to look back over the first year of Ladder Climb, to see how far we've come, to reminisce about the journey I've taken, and perhaps figure out where we go from here. So grab a snack and relax as we take a look back at my first year spent climbing the Master Duel ladder. Alright, here we are, and as the intro said, we are going over the first 11 ladder climbs, just checking them out, talking about what made them, the memories, reminiscing, and I've got Twitch chat here to help me. They're full of emotes, they're full of salt and vinegar, which is a good thing, I believe. I don't know, I just say random things. This is all improvised, we're kind of doing this late night. And the first one, of course, is Crystrons, which is famously the only ladder climb that the Patreon didn't pick. I came in to be like, hey, I've got this new idea for the show, you guys are gonna be able to vote on it, but first, I want to show you what it's like, and I'm gonna start by playing one of my favorite decks of all time. For those who don't know, I was kind of the Crystron duelist for a while. That was like the closest thing I had to a claim for fame. And they were one of my favorite archetypes. I really like everything they do, summoning during the opponent's turn, having a deck that most people don't understand, that can scum wins off the fact that people don't understand it. And when Hulk finally came out, oh, awesome. And then now Hulk is gone. Yes, as people are pointing out, R.I.P. my good friend Hal. Why did you have to be so generic? But that's fine. Goatees, you know, friendship ended with Crystrons. Goatees are my new favorite deck. They do everything that Crystrons did, just a little bit funner and a little bit neater. But yeah, we're gonna start with this one, and the first thing we're gonna do is just look over the intros. If you don't know, I edit the intros myself. The majority of the videos are done by other editors, usually Civit, but Jules and Subat come in and do some of these. But I spend some time on the intros because I want to make those really nice. I forget where I heard it, but they talk about people decide if they want to watch a YouTube video after the first 10 seconds. Doesn't matter how long it is, if you can get them in that first minute or so, they'll stick around for the rest. So I really try to make that first minute as awesome as possible. At least I do now. This started a little bit with these early ones, but I really wasn't good at editing. I only got a chance to learn how to be better at editing as the series went on. So the first ones are really rough, but hopefully we'll see a nice progression where I get better and better. Competitive ladder on Master Duel currently has 4 separate ranks: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Just want to say right off the bat, starting your video with a bunch of blurry stuff, not good. It makes people think that there's something wrong with the video or that you have really low quality. I wanted to do this reveal of each one as though I were like a surprise, but as you'll see in the later ones, now I just do like, you know, Diamond 5 is the highest rank and getting there is a challenge, yada yada. I don't like list off every single one. Also, I'm not on the screen yet. For those of you who are really old leg heads, you'll know that originally, for like the first 4 years of this channel, didn't appear on camera, didn't want to be a face cam guy, generally kind of nervous still about being on camera. And part of that was just not knowing how to be a showman whatsoever. I feel like I picked that up pretty quickly as well, but especially on these earlier ones, you see me trying to avoid myself on the camera because I'm like, no one wants to see me. I'm not all that fancy. And with the right deck and a bit of skill, getting there is actually pretty easy. But what if you don't use the right deck? Oh, look, there I am, all rascally. Didn't know how to trim my beard properly then. Had the long hair still kind of peeking out from the side. I had the top hat. I'd figured out the top hat works. But I was still just like, what's a good shirt? Purple? I like purple. I'll just wear a plain purple shirt. You know, just that'll be me. I'll be the purple guy. And then FNAF had a better purple guy, so I couldn't do that. But also just the fact I didn't, for whatever reason, when I recorded on this, I was like, this is where my chair usually sits. And it didn't occur to me that I should just lift the chair up so that you could see more of my body, so that my upper chest, I'm sitting here like crouched down, like here's the center of the screen, and here's me for some reason. It's so crazy how like in a year and a half I could learn so much and just be like, what are you doing? I was also new to the green screen, so you can see this nice nifty white line going all the way around me. So I'm eager to see if I can get them all the way up to Plat 1. Alright, so this is the initial bit. You could just see me back then. I had very bad lighting. That hat is so dark. But yeah, the intro, you could say, you know, it has all the qualities. The script is essentially the same. But you could tell I wasn't very confident with it. I'm constantly looking down. I didn't have the teleprompter underneath the camera. So, you know, whenever I was reading stuff, I was looking down at a monitor and trying to look back, which is never a good look. And the editing just very, very minimal. I'm like, I could put a card or two on screen. That's kind of neat. I mean, I'm getting there. I had the Hardleg Joe if and you didn't know, but no whip crack. Hadn't figured out the sound effects. You know, a decent start. Pretty good for a first episode. You know, all the right DNA is there. But just not a great intro so far. But still did pretty good. We got like 82,000 views. And you know what? I guess while we're here, let's look at the top comment of the video. Let's see what made it to the top. Seeing cards like Hulk, Azolde, or Electromite being played in their intended archetype is weirdly satisfying. A strange sentiment. I'm not sure why this is at the top. It's one of those things like Trishula, where you're like, oh yeah, Trishula's an ice barrier card. I forgot about that. You never summon it in ice barriers. Unlike Trishula, though, Hulk is actually really, really good in Crystrons. It completely revitalizes the deck for the modern day, and without it, you pretty much can't play the deck anymore. That's one of those things I wanted to cover while I was here, is like, how has the deck changed since I played it last? Could I play it again? Would I make changes now that they've updated things? No. No, I can't play Crystrons again because Hulk is gone, and without Hulk, the deck's dead on arrival. You could still, like, play it, but even with Hulk, it was barely playable, and now it's completely lost everything. Alright, and here we have the stats at the end of every episode. I'm not sure how many people actually know this screen exists, because it's so deep into the episode. It's something that you have to watch the whole hours and stick after the conclusion to find out. It's one of those things I always wish for in other content. Whenever someone does something for a long period of time, I like to know, like, exactly what all the statistics were. So I wanted to include that here. And yeah, we could see, you know, win rate 54%. That's going to be about standard for the show. We made it into Platinum 3, which at the time Plat 1 was as high as you could get. And considering I climbed, I think, from like silver or gold, because this was the first season, or was it the second? I forget if there was a season the first like couple weeks or not. But yeah, pretty good. Very high cost, a lot of gems in this initial one. I think a lot of the, as it goes on, I spend less and less gems for the most part. There are some very expensive decks, but a lot of this was just like me getting my collection together, buying stuff so that I could buy like ash blossoms and things. Oh, and it's also worth pointing out at this point, did not play Max C, because I was so certain that Max C had to be banned within the first couple months. I was like, yeah, there's no way they'll leave that legal. That's gotta be banned. You can't have a game with Max C. I still feel that way, but I eventually had to buy it because it's clear they weren't going to deal with it anytime soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll deal with it eventually. But yeah, overall, I have pretty fond memories of this, but I have trouble remembering anything specific, other than I had to end up going a lot harder than I expected. I started with like a pure Crystron build, and then ended up having to put this like scrap engine in that did a whole bunch of non-Crystron things, and then enabled some of the plays. I think if I had to place this, we're gonna rate all these, scale 1 to 11. 11 being the least favorite, 1 being the most favorite. Crystrons at a solid 4. I mean, they're still one of my favorite decks to play. They were very fun to play. Even though I don't have any great memories of them, I don't have any bad memories either. So, you know, solid. Definitely not the top 3, but pretty close. Alright, so now we move on to the Egyptian God Climb, which was the second one I did, and probably one of the most gimmicky ones I did. You could tell early on when people really didn't know how Master Duel was going to shake out, and I had kind of different patrons there, a much more casual audience at the time. They were really interested to see how stuff like Egyptian gods would fare. Whereas these days, it's harder to find more support for stuff like Blue Eyes. There's always people that suggest it, and then everyone else is like, I don't want to see Joe struggle with Blue Eyes. But the Egyptian gods, one of the more goofy decks, and ended up doing pretty well. Sitting at like 94,000 views, you know, it did better than the previous ones. And you know, part of it, starting out with me right on camera. I figured out people like to see the mug. And also, I think I moved my chair up. You can actually see like my shoulders and everything. Let's see how the rest of this goes. The competitive ladder on Master Duel currently has 4 ranks, with each rank being broken into 5 numbered tiers. Yeah, this is so early in Master Duel's history that I still felt the need to explain how the ranking system worked, because I didn't think that most Yu-Gi-Oh players would get the whole, like, thing. Especially if they were newer audience members, they might not understand the different tiers. Saying it out loud now, I realize how stupid that was, because it's very obvious to anyone who's played the game for a minute. But back then, there were so many people jumping in who hadn't played Yu-Gi-Oh! But what if you don't use the right deck? You get that zoom in, baby. What if you want to play something that is just absolutely terrible? How far could you get? I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, and that's exactly... If you didn't know, it's iffin'! You gotta do the iffin', otherwise it doesn't work very well. Still no whip crack, by the way. If you haven't noticed in the newer videos, I realized the utter importance of sound effects in editing. And it's just one of those little things that makes everything. The like, Hardleg Joe, iffin' you didn't know, and you have that little Johnny Test style. I wonder how long before I figure that out. Each month, I take a new, strange deck and see exactly how far I can push it up the Master Duel ladder. Usually at this point, when I'm editing the intros, I put old thumbnails of other episodes to show, like, the new decks I take to push up the ladder. I didn't do it this time, partially because I wasn't great at editing, but mostly because I didn't have any other... I only had one other episode to pull from, so I couldn't really do it. Getting into Plat 1 with these things is actually going to be a very difficult challenge. but I've played Jank before and I'm confident in my ability to at least get close to the ultimate goal. My picture. Oh, and I didn't have a will we make it? You'll have to watch to find out. And you could see Sivit doing the good editing of when I explain it, and then reveal that what we're actually playing is Numeron. Or Numera, as I said it. To be fair, we didn't go into the Numerons immediately. I believe we had a more pure Egyptian god deck that we played, and then we moved into Numera afterwards. Yeah, this was the one we started with. And if you don't remember, I believe this is one of the episodes. To answer the question from the title, can I get into Plat 1 with the Egyptian gods? Yes. This is one of the few decks that made it to the very top of the ladder. Granted, the top then was just Plat 1, but the gods actually made it, in no small part thanks to the Numerons. Numerons were mostly there. Any Go Second deck has a huge advantage. It's also worth noting that at this point in the game's history, Konami had quite a bit of a problem with bots. There were a lot of bot decks running around that would try to FTK, and if they lost the coin toss or failed to FTK, they would just surrender. And I don't remember exactly, and I'm not going to watch back everything here, but I'm pretty sure that out of the 5 rank up games we needed to get into Plat 1, 3 of them were just auto surrenders. So it's kind of cheesy that I got into Plat 1, but I'm still taking a little bit of pride. Yeah, I got the Egyptian gods into Plat 1 playing with a deck that had Ra in it. Oh yeah, the 13 card extra deck because of the Eater of Millions FTK. Or not Eater of Millions, the Banisher, Devourer of Millions. That was the FTK. It required, they had to banish 14 cards from your extra deck, and then they would burn you for every banished card. So the way to play around that to stop them from hitting you with the FTK was to only play 13 cards in your extra deck. DD Dynamite, yeah. There was some trap that's now banned specifically in Master Duel. Banquet of Millions, yes, thank you, Chad. So yeah, that's probably why I got so high up here to begin with. The thing is, though, as fun as this was, I'm not sure what else you could really do. I know they've released a couple pieces of Egyptian god support since then, but I feel like I've really hit the peak of what you can do with them. I mean, you summon Ra with 1,000,000 attack and you attack. Maybe the new Slifer stuff where you draw a whole bunch of cards. I think there's a draw 6 or something. That might be fun. I don't know. I'm willing to try it again, but I'm very wary of it, especially now that the power creep is just ratcheted up 2 or 3 degrees. I don't think that this stands even a ghost of a chance in something like Tierlament format or Cash Tira format as we're entering soon. We had a 52% win rate, which is actually lower than Crystrons, which I think is a good sign of yeah, the last couple days we were able to steal a bunch of wins off the FTK and grind all the way up. Because we somehow lost more games and still did better. Although now that I'm thinking about that, part of that was also the fact that the first 2 days we played an absolutely awful version of this deck that was pure Egyptian gods, and our win rate was initially 30% before we switched to the Numeron version. And then Numeron had a pretty high win rate because, again, Go Second deck against other stuff. But yeah, overall, a very fun episode, despite the jankiness. I'm not sure if it could be recreated. It feels almost like lightning in a bottle. But, I mean, kind of a spoiler for the rest of the episode. But if I had to rate this one, number 1, baby. This one's going at the top. This is still probably my favorite ladder climb. We peaked early. And part of that is because I did really well. I mean, anytime you can win and get up to that final rank, it feels good. But also, this has a few just very distinctive memories in my mind. I can still remember some really cool parts of this. Specifically, using the true name to accurately guess the top card of my deck, which allowed me to summon Slifer and then attack for game. I think I did that twice in this episode, just by calculating out, okay, what have we got in our deck, what's most likely to draw, and then just getting very lucky. And those memories will stick with me. Although it's unfortunate because at this point I was using different audio settings, and every time I shouted really loud, it peaked the mic and got like, it just cut it all out, so it became silent. So there's a lot of parts here where I like shout and it just gets really distortion-y and then just goes out, which is unfortunate. I fixed that since then, but still a decent episode overall. I almost forgot the comment. We gotta see what the top comment is here. I'm convinced Hardleg is just a Yu-Gi-Oh protagonist who, instead of saving the world, wants to make funny videos. I respect the hell out of him for it. Every upload is something that brightens my day. Aww. So nice. So sweet. Okay, so now we've got the third episode, Red Dragon Archfiend, the Synchro Fest. This is still a pretty rogue deck, but it's probably the most serious one I've played this far. I mean, the first one was Crystrons, which were outdated and not good. Then we had the Egyptian gods, which were a complete joke. And then finally, Red Dragon Archfiend was just like, oh hey, this can summon like a boss monster. This is maybe rogue viable. Let's see how the intro goes. I think this is another one I didn't edit. I think Civet edited this one. We've got the big white outline. At least I'm here, ready to do the whole like turn and face, but you could still not very confident. Still just wearing purple, still with the scrappy beard and the long hair. Platinum Tier 1 is the highest rank currently available on Master Duel's competitive ladder. And with the right deck and a bit of skill, achieving that rank is actually pretty easy. So I thought, but that's just because the Egyptian god ladder climb got kind of skanky at the end. I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know. I got the Ifin on the first episode, and then suddenly on these two, I stopped doing the Ifin. I don't know, it's not even that big a deal, because the important part is the rhyme. I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know. But the Ifin just gives it more of a flow to it, you know? It feels a little bit more like jazzy. This month's deck is Red Dragon Archfiend. But the archetype's inability to summon links or even other types of synchros means that their toolbox is severely limited. Why am I so far to the side when I'm doing like things with both hands and they're getting cut off? He moved me to the side so they could put the cards there, then didn't move me back, and now I'm just like, what's the rest of this negative space doing? Yep, still just wearing purple shirts. Purple shirts every day. That was my uniform. That was what I wore. It's just what I did. Yeah, I remember this final one versus the anime protagonist. I think I got hit with Goddess of Sweet Revenge and I like Ash Blossomed it. Platinum 3, same as the Crystron deck. Didn't get all too far with it. I mean, it's still pretty decent. You got into the final thing, but not as far as we would like. And looking at this final deck, it's not bad. I'm not sure if I would change anything, though. I mean, obviously, I'd play Max C. I still wasn't playing Max C at this time. I was still like, at any day now, it's gonna be banned. Trust me, it's gonna be gone. You'll just wait and see. But other than that, I mean, the deck hasn't evolved much. They haven't added any new Red Dragon support. They haven't added a whole lot of Synchro support. I'm not sure if something like the new Assault Synchron or Revolution Synchron helps this. Maybe when Revolution Synchron comes out, this might be worth going at again. But it's still, like, at the end of the day, just a deck that makes, like, one big boss monster or maybe two medium boss monsters, and that's it. It's affected by its ceiling, not by how easy it is. They've made it about as easy as possible to make Red Supernova Dragon. It's just that alone isn't enough in an age where we've got so much monster negation readily available. This is one, I had fun doing it, but I don't think I'd want to do it again just because the deck hasn't received any support. Dang, this had a 65% win rate. That's the highest, that's significantly higher than the other ones. Which is, it's really weird now that we didn't make it all the way into higher than Platinum 3. Maybe more people were joining at this point. I think this is around the time that they really started advertising it, so they saw a big influx of people. Either way, not a bad deck, not something I'd want to do again. I don't have a whole lot of memories of it other than just doing the same Red Dragon combos over and over again. And being able to resolve Witch of the Black Forest, that's kind of fun. Anytime you could do that in the modern day is neat. But overall, have to rank this, 1 through 11 on the scale. It's a 5. It's right under the Crystrons. It's not my favorite deck, but it's still a neat synchro deck. It still worked out. I had a fun time with it, but there's nothing great about it. It's medium, extra medium perhaps. And top comments, that burn deck accidentally burning themselves to death was priceless. I don't remember that duel. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. Ah, so that's what happened. Their own coffin seller. They had too many burned things and they burned themselves to death. Mildly funny. Definitely not in the top 10s. Someone in chat said, do you watch the videos before posting? Yeah. I'm the one who puts in all these time codes. So I watch the video, not only do I watch it, but I have to pay attention and write down the time when every single duel and everything starts and stops so that I'm ready to go. The reason I don't remember all this stuff is because I do this so often, and I've played so many tens of thousands of duels at this point, that remembering any one specific duel is like nigh impossible. There's just so much. And unless it's like the craziest thing ever, it just gets knocked out by something else. Alright, episode 4 with Ojamas. We're 4 months in and they finally added Diamond. This is where we've got Diamond rank, which we assumed at the pace this was going, right? They had Platinum, 3 months later they added Diamond. We thought we'd be getting Master like 3 months later. It was like a whole ass year. Still not sure what the rank after Master is. I know they've done some data mining and they found like a Blue Eyes rank that's like King of Games or something. We don't know what it's called. We just know it's got a Blue Eyes portrait and then it's higher than Master. Grandmaster maybe? Who can say? Now let's see the intro. I forget if I was doing it at this point. Civet still edited most of the video. And this one's got a solid 100,000. This was, I think, the first one that really got like a lot of attention. This thumbnail with Ojama Red like pointing at the Diamond Bear, just very attention grabbing. And plus, people like Ojamas. Anything with Ojamas is gonna get really high.
Diamond Tier 1 is the highest rank currently available on Master Duel's competitive ladder. And with the right deck and a bit of skill, achieving that rank isn't all too difficult. But what if you didn't use the right deck?
The editing has gotten worse. There's no zoom in, there's no like right deck, different skill. Usually something comes up there, and I've gotten even lazier.
I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know it.
Still no ifin'.
Each month I must take a different non-meta deck and see exactly how far I can push it up the Master Duel Ladder.
Yeah, I finally had the ability to put the thumbnails up there. But I didn't think to actually push them up like I do with the next point. I just put them up there. I have no idea why this one's smaller than this one. And also, these old styles where I'm like, you know what YouTube needs? Red arrows. Like a face on it? No, people don't need to see charismatic person. They just need to know Ra, arrow. Can Ra go into wolf? Hard to say, hard to leg.
But that's not gonna stop me. I've caught the Ojama madness, and now you must come along with me.
So, just not very great editing, but we were trying. We were trying to get it to work well. Ojamas have a space in my heart. I always love being able to summon like arm dragging catapult cannon and stuff. The thing is, I've just done it so much at this point. It's just gotten kind of boring, You've seen one, you've seen them all. It looks like I got all the way up into Platinum 2, so I made it farther than Red Dragon, Archfiend, or Crystrons with it. But yeah, definitely not something I'd want to do again. Yeah, we got Dark Ruler no more, we're playing DPE. Remember when everyone was playing the DPE package? Good old Celestial. Who doesn't like to draw 2 cards? Oh, and look, you can see I had a little fun down here for buying pizza. The days when I used to make ad revenue, but the ad revenue used to be so insignificant compared to what I paid the editors that I really didn't have a whole lot of extra money. I'd be like, if I gotta splurge on pizza, I gotta have chat help fund it. These days, not really doing a whole lot of that. We're doing better. Thank you for watching the videos. I appreciate it. We had a 54% win rate, which is exactly the same as Crystrons. We did that, we got a little bit higher than them somehow. That's weird. I can't remember what the meta was like. All I remember from this is like activating Dark Ruler no more and then crashing Ojama Blue 3 times, and then I would start to combo off and my opponent would be like, oh, this is dumb, and they would quit. Or they'd wait until I comboed off and then realized I had like 8 negates and be like, yeah, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. Wasn't all that great. But yeah, this is definitely something. I know at some point I'll have to do Ojamas again. You know, at this point, my destiny is tied to the Ojamas. I must return from whence they came. But only after they get some new support, either direct or indirect. We need something. I can't just be like, I don't want to do a whole other episode of just crashing Ojama Blue. Because this deck hasn't evolved at all. This is the exact same deck, playing the exact same stuff. We wouldn't do anything differently if we played this in 2024. As for a rating, I'm going to put the Ojamas at 6. Despite the fact that, again, I kind of like this deck, it's kind of fun. The repetitive memories of this, just the fact that, like, all I can remember out of all the duels is just ramming Ojama Blue over and over again and doing the same combos. It's not like bad. They're not bad memories, but they're repetitive memories. They're kind of boring at this point. So it gets extra medium yet again. Let's go ahead, look at the top comment we got here. We have 12 garnets and need to take 6,000 damage to do our combo. Exactly! It's giving me big MBT playing Skyfire. Skyfire is way harder than Ojama's. Ojama's surprisingly easy. At least when you do the Ojama combo, you do win. Alright, episode 5, Fossils, which is the most popular ladder climb to date. We were talking about this before. It just hit 200,000 views, which not only makes this the most popular ladder climb, it is the 4th most popular video in my entire channel's history. The only things that beat it are the crossovers I did with like Jimbles and Rada of rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! And those were also like holiday specials. One was Christmas, one was April Fool's. The other one was the Yugi Poop art gallery that like pretty much introduced the wider world to Yugi Poops. If you don't know what those are, it's probably for the best. But this one, you know, it's in some ways I'm very proud of the accomplishment. I was worried, I was starting to get worried around the time I was making these videos that like my best years were behind me. All my best videos were from like 2015, 2016. And now we have one from 1 year ago that's almost up with them, and it's still gaining views. This might overtake some of those if we give it time. And I have no idea why. I don't know why Fossils weren't super popular at the time. They didn't get new support. I guess they're from the anime, but they're from like an obscure GX part of the anime, which is not the most popular part. It's just really weird, and I mention this a lot, but if you look at the analytics, I get the initial boost when I put it out, it gets like 30,000 views, then it tapers off until like December. It's like 6 months later, suddenly this gets 100,000 views, just completely takes off and has a whole other new life. The algorithm just decided today, people will see Fossils. And I'm thankful for it, but it's just emblematic of how YouTube is in general. Sometimes, videos just do good, even though you put in no extra work. The algorithm just decides, hey, this video, gonna be super popular now. But yeah, let's go ahead and watch this intro. I believe this is still... No, Jules did this one. I can't remember if she did the intro or not. Still got the white line. Still hadn't figured out the bright shirts. I'm still in the purple.
Diamond Tier 1 is the highest rank currently available on Master Duel.
Still doing the currently available because we thought there would be another one coming soon. And at some point I'm like, it doesn't matter. People will figure out that time progresses linearly. I could just say Diamond is the highest rank and people will figure this is before Master came out or whatever.
And with the right deck and a bit of skill, getting there is not all that difficult.
I put the deck up there, and you can see this is what was meta at the time. Sword Soul, mostly.
But what if you didn't use the right deck? What if you played something off the beaten path? How far could you get?
Also, I'm not sure if anyone else can notice this. It's one of these, like, tiny insignificant things that only I seem to notice. And it just bothered. You could see, this was back in the day. My forehead would get sweaty, and it would go into the hat and make it all gunky. So I would fold up a napkin and put it under my forehead. And it took me an embarrassing long amount of time to just buy, like, a little headband thing to keep the sweat in. And until then, and then, like, there's times in the episode where I lift my hat and the napkin falls out, and people are like, what was that under your hat? It's just, you could tell I spent so much time not having the money to buy anything extra that, like, when I finally started getting money, it didn't even occur to me to, like, oh, I could use money to solve this problem. Before, I was like, I could ask for extra napkins when I go to McDonald's and use those to solve this problem.
I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, and that's exactly what I do.
He said the Iffin, we've got the Iffin, still no whip crack though.
Each month I take a different deck and see exactly how far I can push it up the Master Duel Ladder.
All the thumbnails, no pushing.
It's not the strongest archetype, especially considering there's only 3 other main deck monsters to support it, but when used in combination with Yu-Gi-Oh's other powerful rock monsters, Fossils can add a surprise OTK element capable of stealing games from unprepared players.
I do like that. It finally learned to do a little bit of animation. I just like, that was the best I could do, but I feel it's got a little bit of charisma there. The fact that the block dragon is just like, you talking about me? Yeah, you better keep talking about me. Slow block dragon jump scare slowly goes back.
Especially in best of 1 format. Will that be enough to carry us into Diamond 1?
In a modern episode, I would slowly slide over and not just suddenly jump over.
You'll have to watch to find out.
Here we are, June. Well, I did get the you watch to find out, so we got there. What is this? 2022. June of 2022, and we're playing mostly Adamanticators. This is one of those ones, almost like the Numeron one, where I feel a little bit guilty over the fact that I say it's fossils, and then I play a deck that's way more popular, but there's literally only 3 fossil main deck monsters. I played all of them. You have to add in other rocks. And if you're gonna do it, these are pretty much the only other playable rock archetype. It's that or Kawaki Miru's, and I think as we went along, we ended up adding in both. Do I have my final deck list? Oh yeah, you could tell I edited this one. Because I've got the bold yellow font. Alright, so Fossils had a win rate of about 64%, which actually puts them in 2nd place behind Red Dragon Archfiend. And I'm just realizing we didn't look at what we actually got to. What was the rank we reached here? Diamond 3? Yeah, very weird. Like, normally I would assume from this deck that I made it really far. I always have really fond memories of this. I remember winning a lot. I remember pulling off a lot of cool plays. This was a time when Destroy Phoenix Enforcer was really popular. Almost every deck splashed it. And Fossils was almost like an anti-meta pick because you could pull it out of the graveyard in order to fusion summon your stuff. Like, if you could get them to expend the DPE and put it in the grave, then you just Fossil Fusion, pull it out, and be like, hey, how's it going? Also a nice Go Second deck, lots of OTKs. Again, I really like the Go Second decks on Master Duel. I think they're more fun to play because everything else is so geared around going first. Still wasn't playing the Max C. Didn't need it. Didn't need it for this deck. And that's probably, again, the only thing I would really change is you put Max C in here. I think there's a couple new, like, rock support things. There's that little water rock guy that gets you another normal summon. That probably makes this a little better. But no new fossil support, no new Adamanticator support. And other than that one card, I don't think there's a whole lot of new rock support either. I could definitely try playing these again. I'm not sure how interesting it would be. But this is the most viewed episode, so maybe going back again would, you know, people would want to see it. I don't know, let me know down in the comments if you made it this far. Is this something you would like me to revisit? I kind of feel like it was good to do once, but unless we get something special, there's not really a reason to. Vernisylphs? Yeah, maybe. I mean, these are almost exclusively Earth. I'm not sure how Vernisylph would really help this deck out, though, because fossils need, like, high-level cards in the graveyard, and all the Vernisylphs are low-level, except for their boss. Maybe summoning them back and stuff, it's another way to trigger Flint Cragger. Maybe. Again, let me know. I'm not super excited to try it again, but I'm open to it. You know, again, especially because people seem to like it so much. Like, if you guys like fossils, I'll give the fossils another try. Sure, why not? And as for their ranking, I'm putting this up there at number 2, right under the Egyptian gods. And again, there's just like, I don't think I have any specific, like, cool memories about this episode. I just remember having a really fun time. Adamantipator is really fun to play, they can come back, and making big fusion monsters and attacking for big number, it's just a fun time all around. It is really weird because, like, as I was looking over these earlier to kind of determine the rankings, I have a lot more, like, really good memories from the later episodes. These first ones, even though, like, they weren't awful, a lot of it felt more like work. It was trying to get through things. And this was one of the few that didn't really feel like. I had some genuine fun playing with the fossils for a time. Whoa, this is a long one. One thing I hope people really understand about your gems spent is that you keep 90% of the cards you get, rarely decrafting, because you'll probably need those for later episodes. So 11k isn't super accurate for everyone. Some people will only spend 5 because they can decraft more liberally. Yeah, so stuff like that. Some people need more because they need staples. And that's one of those things. I like having the IRL cost here, but as the show goes on, it becomes less and less accurate. The Springens deck, for example, I already had most of the Springens stuff, so it cost me 1,000 gems. I had to open one pack to get the one UR I got, and even then I probably could have crafted it. I have so many more UR and SR points at this point, but I still think those stats are worth keeping. At least for now. I don't know, that's another thing you can let me know in the comments. Alright, the Unchained ladder climb, and will you look at that? The first appearance of a bright, colorful shirt. The Hawaiian shirts, maybe? I don't really think these are Hawaiian shirts necessarily. They're just bright, colorful shirts. But I finally got modern Hardleg. No longer am I sitting there in the purple shirts. So we're finally here. Not only do we have the colorful shirts, but look! There's no outline. I finally learning the green screen a little bit better. Still doing weird stuff where I like blur the bottom half for whatever reason, and I'm really zoomed in on this, but yeah, you know, it's going. I got the chair turn. I'm being a little more animated instead of just being like Diamond Tier 1. I'm actually getting the whole like body into the movement. You know, you gotta be animated. I mean, that's part of it. You gotta, if you want to be like an entertainer, you gotta kind of make yourself into like a character. You gotta have like a certain outfit. You gotta have a certain presentation, and you gotta exaggerate things a bit.
Tier 1 is the highest rank currently available in Master Duel, and with the right deck and a bit of skill, getting there isn't all too difficult.
Got a little bit of animation, not very much, but it's there.
But what if you don't use the right deck?
You got that zoom.
What if you play something off the beaten path? How far could you get?
Oh, I didn't do the chin thing.
I'm Hardleg Joe, and that's exactly what I do.
What? What? I had finally gotten the if in, and then I didn't even do the catchphrase. I'm Hardleg Joe, and that's what I... How dare you past me? Don't you know there's a certain way you do things?
This month's deck is Unchained, an archetype of fiendish monsters themed around the concept of destruction.
Oh, look at that. Did you see that, chat? I had a little visual effect.
Themed around the concept of destruction.
Got a little destruction effect. You know, if I was doing this now, I would put like a sound effect, maybe shake the screen to really sell that explosion. But I'm getting there. We're getting there.
In my mind, there is no doubt that we can take this all the way to Diamond 1. The real question is how long will it take, and can we do it in style?
Oh, how naive I was. I mean, to be fair, when this came out, I thought we had a chance. If you look at, like, the previous episodes, right, it's like, yeah, Sword Soul's there, maybe Adamantipator's there, but you're still fighting a whole bunch of random crap. And then this was really the moment where we went halfway through and suddenly they added new packs and the meta just cranked up a whole nother notch. Floowandereeze at full power was just on a whole other level. And not only that, why no one likes Flu, a short montage. Oh yeah, Adventure came out too. I forgot that was there as well. And it was before they hit Hulk. So you had the Adventure pile that was just like all the broken shit in Master Duel stacked together.
Regardless.
I can't explain how absolutely frustrating the meta was at this point, because there were two top decks. One was Floowandereeze, that was a control deck that played during your turn, normal summoned a whole bunch, and pretty much was immune to Ash Blossom. And the other one was the Adventure Hulk Auroradon pile that would just special summon like crazy, played through all the disruption, and so there were no cards you could put in your deck that effectively dealt with both of them. The cards that stopped Flu did nothing against Pile. The cards that stopped Pile did nothing against Flu. And it just felt like no matter what tech cards you put in, you were just absolutely devastated either way. You could tell I didn't get the Max C, but I did put in fucking Droll Lock, which is a sign of any bad format. Usually this is the canary in the coal mine for a bad format. When people are searching so much, you need Droll instead of Ash. It's like, okay, things might go a little bit, they might be a little too strong. Also, this counters Max C. This was my Max C counter. And if you're not playing Max C, this can be really good for that. But once you start playing it yourself, you don't want this because it's reciprocal. As for the deck itself, pretty fun. I kind of liked the Unchained, but the episode is kind of tainted by the fact that all I remember was how absolutely frustrating it was. I'd be up for playing these again once they get their new support, which is probably going to be like a year out at this point, because it just came out in the OCG, I think. I don't think it's even in the TCG yet, or if it is, it just came out there. But once they get the new stuff, I'd absolutely try this again. I do really like Unchained. I think they're one of my favorite Link decks. Just very fun overall, lots of neat little combos and quirks and stuff. But I'd want to wait for the new support to come out, because that kind of changes the entire way you play this. I think people don't even play the big blue dog anymore, which was such a critical part of these earlier builds. As for the top comment... Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I had a speech. This was halfway through. We learned that Kazuki Takahashi had passed, and I took apart a whole moment to just be like, yeah, R.I.P. and gave a little speech about how even though I didn't know a bunch about him, it was crazy to think of how much positive impact he had on my life, and he'll be missed regardless. Is very touching. If you want to cry, you go back and watch this episode. Kind of a weird thing to put in the middle. I think it puts a little damper on what is otherwise a fun journey. But you know, you have to bring it up. You have to have these somber moments from time to time. Overall, a good episode though. I think I put this. I have it ranked at 7. In retrospect, maybe I'd put a little bit higher. It's pretty close with Ojama's at 6. I think the fact that it was so frustrating just knocked it down a little bit. And again, that's nothing to do with the deck and everything to do with just how the format shook out at the time. Even though the deck was fun and we did a lot of cool stuff, it was just so frustrating that most of my memories of the episode are negative rather than positive. You're right, so we had a 58% win rate, which is higher than a lot of the episodes that made it like into the high end of the final tier. But we just barely squeaked into to Diamond 5. You know, it wasn't that we were losing a whole lot. In fact, we were winning. But in order to rank up, you've got to win in a row. And because you had those two competing decks that would just be very different, you ended up never being able to win more than a few things in a row before getting knocked back again. In fact, if I remember, you can see this is Mark 5-B. At the end, I had 2 versions of the deck. One meant to go first, one meant to go second, which were good against Floowandereeze and the piles respectively. And near the end, what I was doing is I would just run with A until I lost and then switch to B. Run with B until I lost, switch to A. So, because I just felt like I was getting into these ruts of like losing over and over again. So I kept switching it up. I don't think that actually worked, but it made me feel better at the time. All right, here we are, the 7th episode, Kozmo, which is one of the worst episodes I've done, at least as far as like how much enjoyment I got out of it. This one was rough. There was really a sense that once Flew Under Ease and Adventure came out, that the meta had ratcheted up another level. That the stuff that used to be meta, or used to be at least rogue, could no longer compete, because everything else after that was just one step above. And this really hammered it home. This was one where I was like, yeah, Cosmos are a little outdated, but they're at full power, they can do good. No. This one was bad. If I recall, we did not make it out of Platinum at this one. I think we made it to Platinum 1 at the highest, because I distinctly remember the next one, DDD, we had to start in Gold, because we couldn't make it into Diamond. It was that bad. After this one, I had to change the rules about what decks were viable, so that I'm like, if you want to pick something, chat, I'm open to almost anything, but it has to have gotten support in the last, like, year and a half. At least one thing, direct or indirect. You can't have me play a deck from, like, 2018 that doesn't have any improvements, because I will not be able to make it past the first tier. But let's see how the intro is. No line, I've got the shirt. Do I get the Iffin? Do I get the whip crack?
Diamond Tier 1 is currently the highest rank on Master Duel's competitive ladder. And with the right deck and a bit of skill, getting that rank isn't all too difficult.
Oh, you see that little animation? I had to fling the penguin off and everything.
But what if you don't use the
Got the
right deck?
zoom.
What if you play something that hasn't been competitive for years? How far could you get?
Oh, I got it.
I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, and that's exactly what I do. Each month I take a different
I got the Iffin, but no whip crack. Will I push the things
rogue
up?
deck and see exactly how far I can push it.
Oh, I pushed it! That's become such a staple. It's such a simple thing, but I feel like it just really adds to like the charisma of everything. Being able to interact with stuff on screen, that's what I've been trying to get. That's my editing journey, is getting it so that I can like move something on screen and then just like flick it off or move it around and pretend like I'm interacting with things. It's been difficult to learn from like an acting perspective to pretend something's there, and from an editing perspective to get the animation to work properly. But you could see it. We finally started here.
Made of psychic-type monsters and their machine-type ships, Kozmo is home to the dreaded Dark Destroyer, a massive untargetable boss monster that spent more than a year on the ban list.
Yeah, not the best stuff, but you can again see that interaction. Something in each hand, it doesn't quite fit. I didn't get the movements well. They just kind of fade in. But I got like the Dark Destroyer looming behind me. I'm getting some theme in there. This is as bad as an episode as it really was the start of me figuring out like, I can do more with these intros. I can make them better.
In the end, Cosmos were only able to make it as high as Plat 2.
Damn, I didn't even make it to Plat 1, just Plat 2. Just to hammer home, we spent like a whole month grinding with this deck, making, let's see how many variants, 12 different versions. We tried so many different ways to make Cosmos work, and just could not. Win rate, 49%. This is the first episode to have the under 50% win rate. Could not advance, could not get further. We just weren't quite strong enough. And this is also when I finally crafted the Maxi, because I was just that desperate. I was like, you know, I don't want to do it, but it's been like 7 months. It doesn't feel like they're going to ban it. And this deck just needs any advantage it can get. Anything to get up. And then now that I've played it, it's like, it's just broken. There's no reason not to play it as long as it's legal. That's why they need to ban it. Hashtag ban Maxi. Yeah, Cosmos are neat, but they were never really my favorite. To be honest, I enjoyed the Metal Foe part of this deck more than I enjoyed the Cosmo part of this deck. They're just not really my kind of deck. Even if they got new support, I don't think I'd want to do it again. Although, it's got me thinking now what, like, a Link would be. They could have, like, a cool Link monster that's based off, like, Kylo Ren or something. That would be neat. Like a Return to Oz mention or something. Get the big guys with the wheel bikes, if you know what I'm talking about. That would be an interesting thing thematically. But I don't think I'd want to play it even if they added something like that in. This is one of those ones I'm just gonna veto. Veto anything kind of similar to this, just the old archetypes that haven't gotten support in years. Nah, we're out. As for the ranking, you may think that this is the lowest, that this is 11 out of 11. But it's not. It's 10 out of 11. This is the second worst episode, in my opinion. There is one that I had even less fun with. This one, you know, if nothing else, getting to do all the different builds, I have memories of, like, trying out a lot of fun stuff. There's the weird OTK version that uses offerings to the doomed on your own monsters to, like, pop them and then summon other stuff. Even though I have memories of losing a lot, I have memories of experimenting a lot, and that's always fun to get back to my what-a-deck roots of just, like, trying out a whole bunch of different builds and stuff. And that alone just keeps it from being the very, very bottom. Oh, and then the top comment. We didn't want any boss rush. Now I've got 3. The story of my Master Duel life in a nutshell. Boss rush? I don't even know. Even the comment on this episode isn't good. I have no idea what this is in reference to. Was BES? I guess BES was in this pack with the Cosmos. For some reason, they're like, spaceships? Spaceships. And they put those together, and we got a whole bunch of them. Yeah, this is a pretty expensive deck, too. Geez, 16,000 gems? Especially this far. Well, that's because I made so many variants of it. In like 13 versions. There was another one after this that we went to and then went back. Alright, next up, the DDD ladder climb. They're one of my favorite archetypes. I like Yu-Gi-Oh! For how complicated it is, and DDD is like one of the most complicated decks. It takes a lot of time and effort to learn, but when you do learn it, just, satisfying. It's good to know that you've mastered something that a lot of people can't even get a grasp on, at least for me. You gotta break out the spreadsheet, baby. This is also when I figured out that putting me on the thumbnail is actually kind of good. And it did pretty well, too. You got 90,000 views. Pretty nice. Let's see how the intro turned out.
Diamond Tier 1 is the highest rank on Master Duel's competitive ladder.
I just gotta say, you know, I may be a little bit biased, but I think that's a pretty good shirt. I think that's a nice shirt we got there.
With the right deck and a bit of skill,
One second. That was I caught myself with my own joke.
On Master Duel's competitive ladder, and with the right deck and a bit of skill, achieving that rank.
With the right deck and a bit of skill, you know, if you just get a little skill, you'll be fine. All you need to win is some skill.
Each month, I take a different rogue deck and see exactly how far I can push it up the Master Duel ladder.
Pushing it up the ladder,
this month's
gotcha.
deck is DDD, the Different Dimension Demons. The question this month is not whether or not DDDs can make it to Diamond 1. They can. The question is, do I have what it takes to pilot them there from Gold 5?
Yeah, this was an interesting one because in some ways it was tainted by the previous episode. The climb was more difficult because I had to start in gold and work my way up because the Cosmos did so poorly that I couldn't break into Diamond. And I ended up making to Diamond 3, it looks like.
Ladies and non-ladies, we bring this episode to a close. In the end, DDDs only made it up to Diamond 3. But I mean, we could probably have made it higher.
We probably could have made it higher. I mean, it's probably a better deck than that. We just had a long way to go. I think I started with like a less competent version. I don't remember. And through 7 builds, it looks like. Where's our stats at? There we go. Oh, that's interesting. Putting them down there. I didn't even think to do that. Maybe I should try that in the future. There's some lost lore that I forgot. Looks like we've got a 59% win rate, which is not great, but this is a complicated deck. It's higher than most, but Fossils and Unchained. Fossils and Unchained still had a higher win rate than this. Not very expensive, though. you're still doing fun variants first. Yeah, that's something I still do in the newer episodes. It really depends on the deck and how far I expect it to get. Sometimes I want to try to go serious right from the start and see how far we can get. Sometimes I like experimenting with different builds. It really depends. This is something that I really should have just tried to do seriously from the start. You see, we got the Max C in there, got the whole tax and everything. Playing Small World, playing Forbidden Droplet, that was really good at the time against the branded variants that didn't have all their stuff. As for whether or not I do this again, I mean, this is another one. In general, I feel almost like if I played this again, it would be more of the same, right? The deck hasn't changed at all. It hasn't gotten any new support. There's no new Fiend stuff. I mean, you can't really mix stuff with DDDs to begin with, because the deck's so xenophobic, it locks you into DDDs a lot of times. So there's not exactly anything you can do with it unless they release exactly DDD support. And I don't think there's any more on the horizon. If people wanted me to do it, I mean, I would. If the patrons are really like, man, I'd love to see more DDD combos. It's one of my favorite decks, so I'll absolutely jump in again. But I can't imagine there's a whole lot of attention, a whole lot of demand for more DDD combos. Once you've seen 3 hours of it, you've seen enough. As for where I rank this is going all the way up at number 3. Again, one of my favorite decks. It's not quite as memorable as the Egyptian God deck, but still pretty good overall, you know, a nice solid 3rd place. Let's check out the top comment. What do we got here? Man, I can't believe Hardleg did the entire episode on Dimorphia. He pulled every Dimorphia card he needed and seemed happy the entire time. Well, so many comments about the pulls, probably because the pulls happen in the earlier part of the video where everyone gets to see it. But yeah, this was, famously, I was opening to try to get the new DDD stuff, and I pulled like an entire Dimorphia core, and people were like, you gotta play the dinos, and they've just never won, they never won a Patreon poll. All right, moving on to zombies, and what's this? Look at the intro, I'm not here. I can't see, have I gone back to just being a voiceover? It does seem kind of cloudy.
Diamond tier.
Spooky! I finally learned to make an entrance. I made myself slide in. It doesn't seem like much significant, but in terms of updating the editing, being able to immediately grab your attention with something moving instead of a guy just turning around in a chair is just a significant difference. Hardleg jump scare for Halloween.
Achieving that rank isn't all too difficult. But what if you don't...
More Hardleg jump scare.
But what if you don't... Each month I take a different rogue deck and see exactly how far I can push it up the master.
There we go, that push. You notice in the previous ones where I did it, I'd like make the effect and then the things would slowly move up, not at all at the same time that I do it. But this time I'm getting like, I'm realizing the timing.
You'll have to watch to find out. Alright, so as...
I'm so bundled up, I'm so cold, I can't turn on the heat. That would be wasteful electricity. It's already enough to put on the lights and everything. But yeah, pretty good intro. Still no sound effects, but you're finally getting like the modern Hardleg intro where stuff's happening and things are moving around. It's really weird because I almost have like no memories about this at all. I can't remember anything good or bad. The only thing I can distinctly remember about the zombie episode is that like I would activate grass and people would surrender. Like, as soon as you activate grass, it's just like a win button. We got a 56% win rate. This is another deck where we started off really goofy, and then by the end we were doing Unbranded, which was just a branded deck that also had some zombie stuff in it. And I think that's part of the reason I don't remember this, because we went through 8 different builds, and if I recall, unlike the previous episodes where most of the variants were like slight changes, every build of this was like completely different. We started with Skull Servants, we had a vampire version, we had Baller Drock Turbo, and then of course the branded version. So it's hard to have distinct memories when there were so many different things. And so much of it not only was grass, but also now I remember there were a lot of people that just lost to Zombie World. Especially Fluundereeze was still a big deck here. So oftentimes, like, you play Zombie World, and Fluundereeze is like, I cannot tribute summon, and therefore I surrender. The end. As for whether or not I'd play this again, sure, you can always do stuff with zombies. There's been more zombie support released, so there's even, like, you know, there's a higher ceiling. They've got more synchro stuff they can do now. I could play an entirely different build than last time. I could do the new Mayakashi stuff and just lock people out with synchro summons, or try to mill people to death with Max C. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. The real question is, would people want to see it? Because I feel like, you know, this video, 73,000 views. I mean, that's still high for my average channel. But I think this is one of the lowest performing ladder climbs of the whole series. I think the only one worse than this is, like, Tier Lament. And that one was, like, very controversial at the time. Top comment, one of the best Master Duel series on YouTube. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Just very nice. The fact that this guy did 100 duels for one video. This was around the time that the Fossil deck started getting, like, more views. I saw a big influx to new people in my channel around this time. So I think that's why the comments are like, man, this guy makes good Master Duel content. Because they're brand new subscribers who hadn't seen my earlier stuff. But yeah, overall, a decent episode. Not particularly fun, but not particularly bad either. The only, like, bad memories I have are winning via floodgates and that grass. Which, I mean, you still win, so they're, like, bittersweet memories. It's like, well, I guess I did stuff, but don't really feel like I played the game. I just kind of won without doing any work. Which is not always the best feeling. Would do again, but if I had to rate it, I think it's going pretty low. I think I have it at 9. It's third from the bottom. And again, not because it did anything bad, it just didn't do anything good. It wasn't super exciting, it wasn't super interesting, it just existed. Alright, Umi Control. This was one that I thought was going to be really controversial. At the time, I thought this would be like the Tier Limit one. I was like, people are going to be upset. I'm playing meta. I'm playing the not fun deck. And people seem to really enjoy it. They like... Part of it was because I severely overestimated how good Umi Control actually was. It felt so oppressive the few times that I played it. I thought that it was just like an instant win button. And it turned out to be a lot more difficult, a lot more fragile than I had any idea. Especially going second. Holy shit, like, this is up there with something like Counter Fairies and Trap Tricks, at least old Trap Tricks of, if you lose the coin toss, you lose the duel. There is absolutely no way you could set up with, like, any disruption. And I think the win-loss ratio, if I remember, almost aligns exactly with, like, the coin flip ratio. Which might be something to account for in the future. I maybe keep track of that. That might be a lot, but, you know, I keep notes. I could try it. Let's see how the intro is.
Diamond Tier 1 is the
Sliding in, I got the cool green screen half see-through shirt.
highest rank on Master Duel's competitive.
Huh, I've got the white outline. I thought I'd fixed that at this point. It's probably because I've got the weird shirt and getting the green screen tuned in so that you can see through part of it without seeing through all of it required me to have a little bit of an outline around things. The settings for green screens are weird.
Ladder. And with the right deck and a bit of skill, achieving that rank isn't all too difficult. And I'm going to prove it!
I changed up the intro!
Umi Control is a new and powerful deck composed of several cards that interact with the field spell Umi.
Wiggle.
Chief among them is Ocean Dragon Lord Kairyushin.
What was that? Was that a fucking sound effect? Did I learn to put a sound effect in here? Let's see that as a good old slab.mp3.
Chief among them is Ocean Dragon Lord Kairyushin.
Just that sound of the rock slowly sliding across the other rock, and the little screen shake just makes this so much better.
Debilitating floodgate on legs that can search cards like C Stealth Attack and C Stealth 2,
Got the
which
whooshes.
together turn this Leviathan into a nigh invincible nightmare.
Oh, Leviathan sounds too, and the lightning? I'm getting there. He's beginning to believe.
Along with its favorable matchup against high-tier threats like Branded and Sword Soul.
I did the hand motions and then didn't edit in Branded or Sword Soul. Lazy Joe.
This one of the most formidable decks currently in the game. The question this month is not going to be if we reach Diamond 1, but how fast can we do it, and how easy will it be?
Oh, the hubris I had. So, if you don't remember, on the one hand, I was right. We did make it to Diamond 1. We got all the way to the end. Rank up, Diamond 1. However, I only achieved that because on the last stream, I stayed up till like 2 o'clock in the morning. We went like extra, I think it might have been later than that. I just remember like this was a very long stream. We were like not stopping until Diamond 1 because I was so confident at the beginning that this would be easy that I felt like I would be a failure if I didn't at least get close. So we definitely made it. Easy? Fast? No way. Not even close. This was difficult as hell and we barely made it up there. And it took 13 different builds of it. Oh yeah, and we had the unending nightmare because there were all the floodgates popping around. Floodgates and I believe pendulums were having a stint of playability. Yeah, 52% win rate. Not the highest. Almost exactly 50%. Pretty much just based around the coin toss. And we did 200 duels. Which I haven't been mentioning how many duels, but I'm pretty sure none of the other ones have gotten close. I think all the other ones are like 120 duels, 160, and this was just a whole lot of grinding to push this thing into that last tier. As for whether or not I'd play this again, no, I don't think I would. It's weird because I do have a lot of memories about this, mostly of talking with chat. Because you're playing a floodgatey deck, it's really easy to just be like, and there's the floodgate, so how are you doing, chat? Because at that point, you don't need to make any decisions. You just do the thing, and when you lose, it's like very obvious, like, oh, they've got 2 disruptions, and I didn't open the evenly matched? I guess I just died then. I guess it's just over. So there wasn't a whole lot of fun playmaking to be done. But I seem to remember there being a lot of bits and stuff in this where I was just like having a goofy time and just really playing up like, what's that? Now you can't summon monsters. just being an evil asshole. And it's fun to do every once in a while, as long as that's not your entire personality, you know? Which is why this one actually gets rank 8 out of 11. It goes slightly higher than the zombies. Because even though it ran into stuff where I was winning just off the back of floodgates, I went in here knowing exactly that was what I was going to do, and so I got to play up it more. I got to sort of be a little fiendish Goblin Joe, Proto-Goblin Joe in this episode. Wouldn't do it again, but I would do a deck similar to this. Like, if you want to see me do, like, a big floodgate deck once a year, that's fine. It's fun to break it out. This deck in particular hasn't gotten any new support, and even if it got new support, I don't know what you would do with this. Everything would just be making it more consistent, or giving it even more protection than it already has. And the deck is already just put 1 monster on the field and then protect the castle with 1,000,000 spell traps. So it feels like it would just get even more boring the more you did it. Top comment? Didn't expect to be proven that free will's an illusion in the Hardleg. Oh yeah. Now I remember, again, just an example of I was talking with chat. We got so into noticing the fact that the coin toss affected things, I started to question whether or not my actions were even significant, if there was even free will in this game, or if the coin toss and the opening hand were the arbiter, and all I was a flesh automaton powered by neurotransmitters, filling in the gaps, circle into circular hole, and just writing out the results. Fun time overall.
Diamond.
Oh, did you see that, chat? We're on the last episode. I didn't think we'd do it, and look at this.
Diamond Tier 1 is the highest rank on Master Duel's competitive ladder.
Not only did I come in a neat dramatic way, showed off a little animation, but I sold it with the sound effects. You got the big chunk, you got the shaky screen.
Diamond Tier 1 is...
We're getting there, it took like a year of doing this, but I finally figured out how to make the intros neat. And we got a color, this is like absolutely not a Hawaiian shirt, but it fits with the theme, it's just another colorful shirt. Yeah, it took us just to show, and you know, that I feel like it's always good to point stuff like this out, especially to newer content creators. Like, content is not something where you start making it and you're good. It takes practice. And unlike a lot of other things, your practice is the work you're putting out. As popular as this series has gotten, as good as this series has gotten, it started out in a very rough spot. And you just, as long as you keep improving, as long as you keep getting it, it gets better. And I'm just really curious, like right now, I'm really proud of all the stuff I've done in the newer episodes. When we look back at those next year, it'll be interesting to see if, like, I'll look at these episodes and just shake my head like, I can't believe how naive I was. My animation skills are so lax. Or if I'll reach a plateau at some point, it'll just be great. Anyway, let's go and watch the rest of this intro.
Is the highest rank on Master Duel's competitive ladder. And with the right deck and a bit of luck,
that little spinning around. Question, chat. Let's do a little poll. Will I do the whip crack? Has the whip crack been added? Let's see.
I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, and that's
no whip crack.
Exactly what I intend to find out.
The whip crack will not be seen until next year. It took me more than a year to add a whip crack. I'm so behind where Johnny Test began.
Each month I try to climb the Master Duel Ladder with something different. Facing the cutthroat world of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! With a variety of rogue strategies.
I switched it up this time.
And they have settled on Galaxy Eyes.
Vine boom sound effect!
Used by the main rival of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, this...
I like this joke. This joke always makes me laugh. If you don't know, the main rival of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, his name was Kite. Instead of putting a picture of him, I just put a clip art Kite up there.
Did my patrons get me a Christmas gift this year? Or a pile of coal bricks? You'll have to watch to find out.
The answer is a little bit of both. Deck-wise, this is at the bottom of the list. If you haven't figured it out, this is 11 out of 11. I was miserable through most of this month. I did not like playing this deck. I could not find other unique builds to it. I kept trying to look for other people playing it. And famously, there's a community of people who love Galaxy Eyes, and they're all terrible duelists. You look at their list, and they're all full of 2-ofs, and you're like, why are you playing all these 2-ofs? And they're like, because it's good. And I'm like, the fuck? What do you mean it's good? There's gotta be more than that. They're like, I like that much.
You know, they say it's often about the journey and not the destination. But if you look at the destination, we are exactly where we started. We began in Plat 5, and we have ended in Plat 5.
Yeah, this is worse than Kozmo. Kozmo at least got up a few ranks. This one, we always got pushed back down into Plat 5. We could not make it out of Plat 5 and stay there. Every time we just lost, and there's so many things. And that's all I remember from this, is just like, this was one of the few episodes where I'd wake up and be like, oh, it's streaming day. Ugh. It felt like work. I was like almost angry at the patrons. I remember afterwards just being like, why did y'all want this again? Is there something unique that I'm missing here? Is there something I can do to make this more interesting for y'all? Some like strange build you want to see? And it's like, no, they just wanted to see Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon attack for a big number. And once I did it, we had nothing. But this is the second most popular ladder climb of all time. This has almost 200,000 views. This year came out in December. Everyone went crazy for it. People loved the Galaxy Eyes. They wanted nothing but to see more Galaxy Eyes. So despite how miserable I was, my patrons picked one of the most popular decks they could when I would have never in 1,000 years thought that this would be something like. They ended up giving me a Christmas gift. The Christmas gift was a whole bunch of new subscribers and a whole bunch of money. I think I made like $1,000 off of this video. And, you know, even if I'm miserable playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm still playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Getting paid any amount of money to do it. Getting paid that much money makes it worth it. So, will I play Galaxy Eyes again? I don't want to, but I will. If you really want. I mean, I'm still, if nothing else, we're keeping the idea that during December, I will play anything. The guardrails on, you know, not playing a deck that hasn't gotten support in 5 years or whatever, completely off. You want me to play Dark Magician? You want me to play fucking, I don't know, Madolce? December is the time to do it. As my gift to you, I will play whatever, no matter how miserable it gets me. And yeah, 40% win rate. Kozmo had a 49%. Kozmo almost got to 50. This one did not even get close. And yeah, there are some people in the comments being like, you didn't play this right, you needed to do this. But all their suggestions are like, you need 1 less of this card and 2 more of that card. And like, maybe that would have made a difference, but I don't think it would have made up for the 40%. You know, that would have improved maybe 2 or 3%, but there's no way I'm getting into like Diamond with something that can barely get out of Plat 4. Hey MBT, get me in here for 1 second. Oh, okay.
Hello.
Yo, what's up? How's it going? You're up late.
It's going well. I stayed up late to record a video because I'm dumb as hell. Listen, this episode, this was a rough one.
Yeah.
There's just nothing you could have done.
Yeah.
Galaxy Eyes is such an interesting deck because it is far, I think we may have talked about this before, it is far and away the #1 deck that commenters are sure is good.
Yeah.
Like, everyone in the community has just sort of a background, like, miasma that's like, oh, Galaxy Eyes is probably fine. Everyone is like, this deck is secretly good. Everyone has a different suggestion as to how to play it. I'm sorry. It's just I mean, that's you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, they've got like an in-archetype negate that like searches for cost. Like, that's crazy. They can attack for like 100,000 damage or something like that. You'd think they should be able to OTK like crazy and put up disruption. But the fact of the matter is, like, the archetype is 3 fucking archetypes. Like, yes. Why can't anything just be like, target a photon or a galaxy? Why are there so many cards that's like one or the other? You gotta choose one or the other. Oh, you didn't draw a galaxy? You're fucked. Oh, you only drew photons? Sorry, buddy, half of your cards don't work. It's unbelievable. Like, but we just got Photon Hypernova. This deck has to be good, right?
Yeah. I remember they came out with that, they're like, it's a quick play spell that tributes your opponent's monsters. It's garbage. It's unplayable.
Do you understand how hard you have to work to make a card like that garbage?
Yeah. Or like, well, they have that fucking trap that, like, on paper reads like a custom card
or something.
Yeah, they're like, negate every card in the chain as a counter trap.
That card is so sick.
And it's like, and you can activate it from your hand if you control Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon and nothing else.
Like, oh, cool. How do I make that guy? You can't. It's almost impossible.
Well, you can make it, but it's like, what does it do? Well, it's got a battle trick.
You tried your little heart out on this episode, but don't you end up in like fucking Plat 3 or something?
I ended in Plat 5. I literally started and ended. I did not rank up, except for I ranked up to like 4 and then immediately got knocked back down again.
Wow.
I did not move whatsoever. Which again is it's so crazy. This is like the second most popular ladder climb and like top 10 best videos on my channel, and I have no idea. Like, I could imagine if people came in and they watched for 10 minutes and like, oh, this is garbage, and they left, but people watched the entire thing.
It's literally like the Sauron meme. It's Galaxy Eyes summoning 5 million photon dick riders from the ether.
2 hours later.
Anyway, have a good one. See you.
You too.
What a nice young man. Alright, we got a little distracted, you know, having a fun little chat with MBT and everything here. I completely forget where we were at, but I guess the main point is, wasn't fun, didn't really enjoy it, would still do it again for the fans, but only for December, only for Christmas. Hopefully they have me play something else goofy. I'm hoping we can strike some medium between this and like the Egyptian gods. Something that's like absolutely awful, but is at least fun to play. That would be cool. And not sure if I'd read the big comment or not, but it's actually from RJ. He was enjoying the thing. These ladder climbs are super charming. I don't know how you did it, but he made me enjoy watching Galaxy get wrecked on Master Duel for 150 minutes. But yeah, with that, we reached the end of things. We have gone through all 11 episodes that made up the first year of Master Duel. Only 11, because again, the first month, Master Duel, didn't really... I mean, it dropped so suddenly, there was no way I could prepare for it, but I was ready by February. And we'll probably do this again next year if people enjoy it. We've already got several episodes. I'll probably want to wait till those. We'll do it in the summer sometimes, after we had some time to marinate. And we can go and look over like how we did, how we've evolved since then, and hopefully the channel will be in an even better place than it is this year. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you especially to those of you here in Twitch chat, just chatting away, making things good, although I'm just now realizing they probably couldn't read anything you said because it's white and I use light mode. Well, an attempt was made. This was a really last minute thing. You'll have to let me know next year if there's anything that you wanted me to talk about that I didn't, any other things you'd like me to rank. There was talk about maybe putting these on a tier list instead of just ranking them by number. Let me know if you'd rather see that. Those are very popular. I don't know, maybe we could make a ladder climb iceberg somehow. I don't know how that would work, but you know, views. We can try that. Anyway, thanks again, and until next time, good luck and have fun.